Let's start streaming. Let's start streaming. Yo, what up, everybody? Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. We're streaming. Usually we do these live streams once every other Thursday, but I decided to do this one early. There might be another one next Thursday. I haven't quite decided yet, but I decided to do this one early because I wanted to hit while, sort of all of this was relevant and basically do a fundraising stream to help relief efforts in the Houston area for the victims of Hurricane Harvey. Over here next to my head is a picture of, sort of a bit of a screen grab of the front page of the Greater Houston Community Foundation. And through this foundation, Mayor Turner has, and a county judge has formed a fund for people to donate to help relief efforts. I'm going to be giving all the super chat money that you guys give during this live stream to this fund. I'm trying to organize the words in my head. Now you could say, hey, Anthony, why don't I just donate directly to the fund? I could do that. You could just donate directly to the fund. However, I'm going to be matching all super chat donations given during this stream up to $2,000. So for every $5 you guys give, I'm giving $5. For every $10 you guys give, I'm giving $10. For every $20 you guys give, I'm giving $20, up to $2,000. So at the end of this stream, there is the potential to give $4,000 or more for relief efforts here. So again, the Community Foundation is linked down there in the description, up to $2,000. All super chat donations are going to relief efforts, and I think that's everything I need to say. I will reiterate this throughout the stream, and I hope you guys are doing well and are ready to ask some questions, because outside of the super chat money going to relief efforts, this is pretty much going to be a regular stream. I'm probably going to do it for an hour to 90 minutes, not the full 2 hours we usually do. But, because this is a little off schedule for me and I do have some other stuff that I got to get done. But, I did still want to do this stream and raise some money for a good cause. All right, cool, man. All right, let's go. Let's get the chat up and let's get some questions going. But bam, here's the chat. Hey, there you guys are. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's see some of the questions I'm getting in. Elian Diaz, who I missed earlier, who had a question, he was asking me what I thought about Velocity Design Comfort by Sweet Trip. It's actually a really beautiful album. Please do check out that Sweet Trip album if you can. Unfortunately, the group did not come out with another great, in my opinion. There is some other material of theirs floating out there, but it is a really interesting, beautifully textured. It's like a lot of things. It's like glitchy stuff. It's IDM stuff. It's indie-tronic stuff. There's so many different genres encompassed on that one record. And it's definitely one of the most creative electronic music records of the 2000s. I will give it that. And yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good record. It's a very good record. Thank you for bringing it up. It's one of those underground records in the 2000s that I think in this decade is kind of getting underappreciated. And I wonder just how much good underground stuff in the 2000s is going to be completely overlooked 15 years from now. It's kind of unfortunate. I sort of wonder what in the 2000s people are truly going to get nostalgic about and remember when it comes time to, actually start labeling some of that stuff in that decade classic. All right, let's go through more questions over here. Blah, 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 blah. Thoughts on the new War on Drugs record? My review for that is coming out tomorrow, so hang tight for that. The flood is a false flag operation, says Finky, who gave 10 pounds. That is demonstrably false, but, your money will still be going toward that, so I appreciate it. Melon, can you please slim down a little? You're looking bulky lately. My question is, how many women have you been with, Playa? Look, I know I've been looking bulky, but I'm actually not I'm not super fat. I've lost some weight recently. The bulk that you're seeing is just bam. I'm actually going to go to the gym later and, sort of get this bigger. I'm trying to get pumped for you guys. I'm trying to get big for you guys. I'm getting bulky because I'm getting some getting some meat on these vegan bones. It's all these vegan smoothies that I'm doing. I'm like, ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. I'm just smashing them, and then I'm going to the gym. I'm benching 260. I'm benching 270, and then I'm squatting like a mofo. I'm doing tons of freaking pull-ups, and I've like cleaned up my diet a little bit, and I'm looking good. I'm looking sexy. I'm looking sexy. I'm gonna have that summer body in the winter. In the winter, I'm going to have the summer body. I'm going to have the six pack for you guys soon. And then you're going to get some nude melon photos. You're going to get some melon nudes. So please do donate for the nudes, okay? Because if you guys, you donate, like, let's say by the end of the stream we get $10 million, we could take a little bit of that money and, put it toward a photo shoot, a tasteful nude photo shoot, but everything else, the remaining 9-point-something million, that'll go toward all the relief efforts, but just because you guys raise so much money, I'll do some nude photos for you guys just to thank you. Do you like melon? I was just eating some watermelon earlier. Thank you very much, Tim, for asking. Let's see. What do you expect in Eminem's next album? Something similar to Jay-Z's 444? Do you think it'll be his last? I don't know if it'll be his last, and I don't really know what to expect at this point, honestly. Like, I feel like Eminem, for Jay-Z, that album was kind of uncharacteristically personal. And Eminem is usually pretty personal, like even if it is kind of in an aggressive way, at points, but he usually is pretty personal and honest about himself and very straightforward about the horrible things going on in his life. So I don't know if, a seriously personal album from Eminem would be all that much different from what he typically does, but maybe he'll go more low key, with his next record, like Jay-Z did with his new record. Could possibly happen. In your opinion, is Hendrix the GOAT guitarist? I don't know. I mean, Hendrix, Zappa, John McLaughlin, Robert Fripp. There's amazing, innovative guitarists out there. And if you just want to talk about, technical ability, there's guys like Steve Vai. But Hendrix, I would definitely say, ranks up there as one of the best guitarists because for me, a good musician, it doesn't just take technical ability. You also have to have the ability to write and execute. I think also as a performer, he had an incredible amount of talent and showmanship. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, Jimi Hendrix really is kind of the total package, which I think is why his memory has lived on so much. I mean, John McLaughlin, amazing player, really amazing writer, creative mind, but is he as much as a showmanship, sort of icon as Jimi Hendrix was? Certainly not. Certainly not. But still an amazing musician and a great thinker as well. What is my opinion on 90s Beck? He's pretty cool. I like 90s Beck. Do I think Eminem can make another classic? Personally, no. I'm not really expecting it at this point, but who knows at this point? Anything's possible in 2017. We have a reality star as the president right now. So can Eminem come out with another classic? Honestly, at this point, Eminem can be fucking president. So I guess it's possible. Anthony, why don't I review any country albums ever? I'm itching to know what you think about the new Jason Isbell. Personally, I thought the Jason Isbell was just a little bit too clean and sanitary for my taste. I do like my country music a little bit more rootsy, low down, a bit more soulful, a tad more outlaw. Jason doesn't really bring that to me. He's almost like a little bit too more, he's actually like a little bit more sanitary and almost like a touch more hipster than like Sturgill Simpson, and it's kind of a turnoff for me. But yeah. What's your favorite scene band? Probably Job for a Cowboy. That band, when they broke on the scene, they were fun as fuck, and then people started hating on them, and then it just became not so fun. Let's see. What's your reaction to 1 and 17 getting the same rating, 6.5 from Pitchfork? I don't know. That's fine, I guess. They weren't generous enough with one, and they were too generous with the other. I don't know what else to say. I would have to, I guess, read the reviews as to why I felt like they justified those scores. But honestly, for as negative as the Saturation 1 review was, I feel like the review didn't really cite that many tracks that the reviewer thought were bad or mediocre. And the review didn't really cite any songs that the reviewer thought were great. So I sort of question as to how deeply the reviewer went into the album, because the review itself seems kind of surface level and cursory. What is a good record player to start with an entry-level collector? I would save your pennies and I would try to get a Technics or a Stanton, like a mid-level model or something, because they have some solid players. Do you think you could beat MC Ride in a fist fight, bare knuckles, street rules? Listen, if I'm going to talk about me and MC Ride fighting, it would have to be like a Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather situation. And, we'd have to meet up with some trainers, get some training video out there. You already see that I'm putting on some muscle. So I'm getting ready for the fight. I don't know, man. I'm just not going to, to go too deeply into that. Though I will say MC Ride, to my knowledge, he is a smoker. And because of that, I do think my lung capacity and my stamina will do me better in the ring, give me more energy, because I could probably last a little bit longer, as long as I don't take a hard one to the face, because, I probably will be able to, get some better breaths out. However, I will not count, MC Ride out, because he probably, does have some kind of mystical rage powers that I don't necessarily have access to, at least as far as I know, because it's been a while since I've fought in a back alley or something in a bare knuckle brawl. Used to be my lifestyle, back in high school, but I'm just not about that life anymore. I'm just about reviewing albums full time. Thank you very much, John. Thoughts on Pearl Jam and the grunge movement as a whole. Thoughts also on Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens is pretty sweet. He's a cool cat. He's got some good tunes. He's a good songwriter. Maybe he's a little too pleasant for my taste, but Cat Stevens is good. And Pearl Jam, the grunge era is great. They're probably not my favorite band of the grunge era, but still, they put out some classic records, and, Eddie Vedder's the man, so... review incoming Wolfpack, White People Funks. Maybe, do they have an album coming out this year? If they do, I'll keep an eye and an ear out for it. Can you tell us the story behind the tattoo on your left arm? My left arm? This one? I don't really talk about my tattoos that much, boy. But, I got a tattoo on my left arm. It's one of, I think, 12 tattoos I have now, most of which are all under my clothes, because I'm not, very much about hey, look at me, I have tattoos. Because honestly, it used to be back in the day that when you had tattoos visible and all over the place, it used to be I'm mean, I'm tough, I'm not a good person, stay the fuck away from me. But now when you have tattoos in, open... visual, in open view is what I want to say. People bother you and, get in your business. And the last thing I want to talk about is my personal life and the reasons that I have the tattoos that I have. So most of them are, pretty deeply under my clothes. Do you know the rapper Wax? He's real good. Would love your opinion on him. I do not know him, unfortunately, but thank you very much for the support for the hurricane, relief efforts, because to remind you guys again, all super chats that you are sending in, okay, they are all going to relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey through the Greater Houston Community Foundation, set up by the mayor and a judge in the area. And I am matching all super chats up to $2,000. Okay, so if we raise $2,000 by the end of this thing, then I'm giving $2,000 too. If we raise $1,000, I'm giving $1,000 too. Just to let you guys know, it'll take a day or two to know how much money we've raised here once YouTube Analytics tells me. And then once that's there, then I will send through the money via a debit card payment, and I'll post that up on Twitter. And I'll also probably make that, aware in the next live stream, how much money we raised. But again, all money we're raising here for hurricane relief efforts. All right, let's go to the next question here. Bit late to ask, but what'd you think about Deltron Event 2? Oh, it was not good. It was it was so much more mediocre than the first one. It sounded so awkward. It was really awkward. It was a very awkward record, in my opinion. It the chemistry and the smoothness of the beats and flows on the last one just did not work out. Kanye or Jay-Z? I think Kanye is more innovative, but Jay-Z, I think, has more classics under his belt, has been a tad more consistent, and really kind of paved the way. You can't count out Jay-Z. Not only did he put, so many other rappers on the map, but in a lot of ways, he put hip hop on the map. Not that hip hop wasn't relevant before, but the thing is, he brought it over to, the mainstream in a way that very few artists did before him. Because, in the 90s and the 80s, hip hop was not as big a deal as it was in the 2000s. And part of the reason it was a big deal in the 2000s was Jay-Z, and not just him, but, he certainly played a huge role in that. Have I ever heard Rise Against? If so, thoughts on them and their new album? Honestly, Rise Against is one of those punk bands that I've never been like super crazy about. In fact, like a lot of that 90s, 2000s melodic hardcore, like skate punk sound, like does not really do too much for me. Like, bands like Propaganda also come to mind, or Bad Religion, for example. It's fine. And maybe, it never really spoke to me in my teens and 20s. Maybe if I listened back to some of it, recently, like it would do something for me. I mean, Ben from the Drunken Peasants, I used to be like so not into NoFX at all, but recently he was like, hey, listen to this album and this album and this album. And I was like kind of into it. So, anything could happen. But personally, I'm not going to come on here and talk about, Rise Against like I've heard all their albums. I haven't. So I apologize. John, I have to skip to the next one. Okay. Thoughts on Cockatoo Twins? Heaven or Las Vegas? That's my jam. Also, shout out to Fairfield County. Hell yeah, Fairfield. Cockatoo Twins. I mean, their music is pretty nice. It's very pleasant. It's very sweet on the ears. I really don't know what else to say beyond that. I'm not like an expert in their music or anything like that, but they're definitely like a classic band. I don't know. What do I think about Harsh Noise? Do I consider it music? Personally, I do consider it music. And where do I draw the line between what is and isn't music? Honestly, I think as long as we're talking about sound that was intentionally organized in whatever way by a human being, we're talking about music. We're talking about an art form. I think art and music sort of has to have a note of intent to it. Like somebody tried to make music, and therefore it's like music, no matter how abstract and horrible it is. It may not be music you like, and it may not qualify as music in the sense that you can sort of put it, and notate it on sheet music, but I still think it qualifies as music. And Harsh Noise, do I think it's music? I think I may have already answered that, but again, yes. I do think it's an artistic expression. It's a very strange one, and it's a very tough one. It's a very difficult one, but it's still one all the same. And, honestly, like I enjoy the aggression, the nihilism, the ugliness, the harshness of Harsh Noise music. I think it's a texture. I think it's an aesthetic that's really cool. It may not always be interesting compositionally, but I do think it's a style that's, worthy of respect. Would you want a new Pig Destroyer record? Favorite record? Probably Terrifier. And would I want another one? Hell yeah. I thought their last one was okay. So, I mean, why not? They're one of the best grind bands out there. Solely from a writing perspective, who is your favorite Beatle? Probably John, from a writing perspective. Who is the best member of Brockhampton, and why is it Dom? Dom is one of the better ones, but honestly, like for me, it's like Kevin and Amir. I don't know. They kind of grab my ears the most personally, but it's also because of how much they dominate the records. Dom is great. He has some of the best moments on Saturation 1, but he didn't stand out as much to me on 2. Thoughts on the Tragically Hip and why they never became mainstream in the US? Personally, when I listened to them after you guys are recommending them to me, like, I don't know, I thought they just kind of sounded like another 90s alternative rock band. Maybe they didn't have, the sound that people wanted to hear over here. But honestly, back in the 90s, like much of what was relevant and much of what wasn't was mostly decided by A&R and PR people, record label marketers, and radio programmers. It wasn't like the internet where popularity was as democratized as it is today. You know what I mean? So, like we had shit in the 90s, like we had a swing revival, because like record labels were like, pushing out all this awful swing revivalism, like on the radio and shit. And it was just like, it was awful, So, I mean, unfortunately, the Tragically Hip probably didn't make it over here because they probably didn't get a lot of radio support. They probably didn't get a lot of media support. But, listening back to them, they didn't really do much for me personally. Hey, Anthony, thank you for doing this live stream. I live about an hour outside Houston, so this is much appreciated. Where does Jack White rank in your greatest guitarist of all time? I don't even know if Jack White would be in my top 10. He's not bad. He's very good, but when I hear Jack White play, even at his best, he just kind of reminds me of other people, you know, like occasionally I'll hear something like kind of innovative. Like I appreciate I appreciate Jack more as a songwriter than I do a guitar player. Like he's a good guitar player. He can perform and, you know, he has chops, but, you know, I don't, enjoy his music for its guitar playing as much as I do, you know, sort of his lyrics, his energy, his ability to write really well. The fact that, you know, the White Stripes had such an interesting skeletal stripped back sound. And yeah, you know, that's pretty much why I enjoy White Stripes personally. And my thoughts on Jack White as a guitar hero. Thoughts on Typo Negative, best Frank Zappa album. My personal favorite is Apostrophe, but probably his best is like Hot Rats or something like that. Or, you know, We're Only in It for the Money or something. But Typo Negative, I mean, really heavy, dark band. You know, I don't think they get quite as much respect today as they should. You know, honestly, like a lot of the dark, moody, gothy kind of metal of the 80s and 90s is just not really, not that I think it sounds bad today, but for whatever reason, I don't think it really speaks to millennials, which, you know, kind of sucks. I wish it did. You know, also artists like Simon and Garfunkel, you know, I for whatever reason, despite the fact that Sufjan Stevens is like huge, and, you know, Paul Simon is a gigantic influence on everything fucking Sufjan Stevens does. Like, I don't see a lot of, you know, millennials hyping up Paul Simon and Garfunkel outside of, you know, the Hello Darkness, My Old Friend meme. 5 of your personal singer-songwriters off the top of your head. Bob Dylan, like Tom Waits, Phil Oakes is an amazing one. Who's another one? You know, probably, you know, Phil Elverum. And, you know, let's say either Mark Kozlek or Father John Misty right now, because, you know, they've made 2 of my favorite records this year. Hey, will we get a video touching on Jake Paul's music? Maybe some of the same things Dead End Hip Hop also touched in their recent vid. He's a massive wanker now. Massive wanker, by the way. I personally don't really have a strong opinion on Jake Paul's music outside of the fact that I think it sucks, and I don't even really know what to say about it. You know, it just only serves to grow his brand and his ego. Like, he doesn't make music to make good music and for it to be a good artistic statement. He makes music to essentially just make himself seem like a bigger media presence. And that's pretty much all his music is. It's just like a promotional tool. He made a song in the same way that you would like make a business card. And I don't know. That's pretty much what I feel about Jake Paul's music. It's just not good. It's just shit. And again, only lives to serve his ego, and that's it. How far do you look into the lyrics of more lyrically sophisticated bands, namely bands like Deathspell Omega and Gorguts? Personally, I don't look that deeply into the lyrics of bands like Deathspell Omega and Gorguts, mostly because I feel like the vocal aesthetic kind of deters me from doing so. Not to say that there aren't good death metal bands and grind bands and extreme bands that you know, have some good lyrics. There certainly are. But I guess it sort of matters whether or not it sort of grabs me in the moment. Like, whoa, it feels like something is really, I don't know. I kind of have like a sense about it when I'm listening. Like, I feel like I need to listen to the lyrics. Like, for example, with the latest Vector album, which is kind of like this thrash metal space opera fucking thing. You know, I knew that in order to appreciate and enjoy that record, I really needed to read along with those lyrics to get the breadth of the full story, you know? And then I was just kind of, I don't know, just doing that. And I enjoyed the album so much more. I guess when my mind goes towards lyrics is when I feel that the artist or band are putting that emphasis on the lyrics themselves, sort of like a group like the Mountain Goats, you know, where John Darnielle, his songs have such a strong narrative voice. You know what I mean? I guess what also kind of gets me curious about the lyrics is when a band's sound is so weird, you know, and Gorguts definitely counts as one of those bands. You know, they have a very extreme, strange, and progressive sound. So, I mean, I guess I probably should be a little bit more curious than I am. But also, a lot of those bands, like when I'm reviewing some extreme stuff, and we're talking about the album just being released. Sometimes all those lyrics aren't online just yet, and I'm usually working off of like a stream or like a digital promo or something like that if I have to do a review. But I probably should put in more effort to concentrate on the lyrics of bands like that. Thank you very much for pointing that out, David, and supporting this stream, which all the super chats are going toward relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey, and I am matching all the super chats you guys send in up to $2,000. Please remember that. What do you think of Biffy Clyro's Infinity Lad, and do you agree with the idea that it is one of the most underrated British rock albums of 2000s? Personally, I don't really care for Biffy Clyro at all. Thank you very much for supporting the stream. We do appreciate that. But Biffy, I don't know. They're just kind of one of those modern rock bands that, in my opinion, they don't have like a lot of guts to their music. There's not a lot of grit to what they do, in my opinion. That's probably just my personal kind of punk bias flying in there. It also kind of keeps me from enjoying bands like Manchester Orchestra. I don't know. It's just like a little bit of a turnoff personally. Have I listened to the new film score from that 106 Point Never, project for Good Time? Yes, I have. I thought that compositionally it was a little lacking. The Iggy Pop moment was cool. The song Flashback I thought was pretty cool compositionally, but most of the time it just kind of feels like he's doing some weird sound play, which is, nice. It's definitely some cool texture, but like most soundtracks, it just kind of feels like I'm listening to random motifs. It's not like, I guess, groomed like an album, I would say. And if we have indeed reached peak trap, what direction do you potentially see hip hop going? Honestly, I don't know at this point, but personally, hip hop may in fact go into like some kind of depressive phase, like with guys like XXXTentacion, like ruling the roost. And, you have like emo rap fans left and right. I don't know if it's been asked, but will you be reviewing the new Uncle or Mogwai albums? I do have a plan. I do have plans to review the new Mogwai, yes, and have always been curious about this since you are so well versed in real hip hop. Why have you not done a classic review of Tupac? Your thoughts on Tupac? Honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of classic reviews of 90s rap. I haven't done a classic review of Biggie either. And Tupac is great. I grew up with his music on the radio and hearing his albums just like I did Biggie. But honestly, like, because I'm on the East Coast, it was more of a Biggie emphasis and just kind of the whole hardcore hip hop thing in general. When we heard a lot of that stuff, it was either on like the big mainstream hip hop, the big mainstream hip hop station, or like on MTV, because it was like, hip hop and music in general, back in the 90s, back in the 80s, when I was listening to, the radio, it was a little bit more regional. So the pop music, and it's, especially the hip hop music, that when you did hear it on the radio, it was like a little bit more representative of the area that you were in. What do you think of the song Eddie Vedder had on Twin Peaks? Oh shit. Did he have a song on Twin Peaks? I haven't finished the season yet. Did you just spoil some shit for me? Oh man. Am I an idiot? When can we expect an Elliott Smith Classics review? I don't know. And thoughts on Billy Ocean suddenly? I love that album. And I see you have it on vinyl. It's a very sweet, rich, funky album. And very soulful, very nice. Some very nice grooves on that record. It's kind of like, I don't know. I picked it up because I had seen it in so many like $1 bins. And I had heard a few songs from it on YouTube, and I was like, fuck it, Like, I keep seeing it in so many places, I have to have it. Any good vegan documentary recommendations? Your fave vegan ice cream brand? I personally enjoy coconut ice cream, and I don't remember which one I eat. It has like an SO on the front or some bullshit. I don't remember the name of it. But I don't know. I guess the last vegan documentary, or I guess documentary of this type I've watched is like Earthlings. I don't watch a whole lot of vegan documentaries. I read like some vegan articles and stuff, and recipes and all that shit. But I haven't watched any vegan recipes. Documentaries lately. Thoughts on Highly Suspect? Have you heard of the LA Trio Fencer? I have not. And Highly Suspect, the name rings a fucking bell. Why is it ringing a fucking bell? Like I'm drawing a blank here. The hell's going on? Like it's so like I know I've heard it. Like, what is it? This is, I know I've seen these album covers around, but I don't know if I've heard either of these albums all the way through. Maybe a track here or there, but honestly, it's like I haven't heard enough to comment. I haven't heard of either of these bands. I apologize, but thank you very much for supporting the funds and my efforts here to sort of raise some money for Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. Thank you very much. To remind you guys, all the super chat money is going toward relief efforts, and I'm matching up to $2,000 if you didn't already know. Sorry if I don't get to every question. I'm trying to answer them all. I apologize. Hey, Anthony, what will the next worst best be? I don't know, man. I got slammed with like 12 albums this past Friday that I was all like, I have to either review most of them and listen to all of them to decide how I'm going to react to them and handle them and cover them. So it's like, I haven't even had time to think this week of what my next, sort of freaking thing is going to be, but I've written, and the Bjork one I sort of put on hold because the Bjork album's coming out this year, and I feel like that should be considered. Or maybe at least released just before the album. I don't know yet. Louisiana native here, and I really appreciate you doing this, Melon. It means a lot to see my hero care. Thank you very much, Redface Gaming. Your money will be going toward a good cause. Again, all the money is being delivered directly to the Greater Houston Community Foundation. It is a local foundation started by the mayor of Houston and a judge in the area. I figured this would be more effective and make more sense than sort of just giving directly to the Red Cross, who, they're a fine organization, but they've had their issues in the past. And I thought that this would probably be, money more smartly donated. Thoughts on Unwound, favorite Cure record? Pornography is pretty great. Kiss Me is amazing. In my opinion, definitely an underrated one of theirs. Three Imaginary Boys, but which is my favorite? I guess we would have to say Pornography since that one popped up in my mind first. But Unwound, I'm not as crazy about Unwound as I thought I would be. I love post-hardcore, but honestly, like they've never done anything that just like really wowed me. Honestly, like listening back to their older stuff. Maybe you had to be there. Hey, Anthony, would you rather just okay music with amazing lyrics or amazing music with just okay lyrics? I always find myself not caring much about lyrics if the music's amazing, except if the lyrics are distractingly bad. I do agree. Distractingly bad lyrics can ruin a song that sounds amazing with just okay lyrics. I don't know. I mean, there's not really a choice there because I feel like both of those situations, sort of have their downsides. There are moments in, like, let's say the Mountain Goats discography where I feel like the music is literally just okay, but it's really the lyrics and the story that John is telling that sells the track, or there are moments where, I feel like the instrumental behind an Eminem song or something is okay, but Eminem's lyrics are just, that good. And that sort of is the case for a lot of popular hip hop artists. And, on the flip side, the music can be amazing with some pretty simple or stripped back lyrics for a lot of records, some of which I've probably reviewed, recently. I can't go too deep on this question, but I feel like it's a choice that's not really a choice, I guess. But thank you very much for supporting our relief efforts here. Was wondering if Sparks Island Years box set was any good. I haven't even popped it the fuck open yet. It's been sitting over here, but I will have listened to it by the time I do my next vinyl update. Because all that vinyl I did all that vinyl I got in the that video, What's in My Bag, which if you have not seen my Amoeba Records What's in My Bag, it's about to hit 400K, which is going to make it one of the bigger videos on their YouTube channel. Hell fucking yeah. Thank you guys for watching that video so much. If you haven't, go watch it. But I will have popped that open by the time I do my next vinyl update. Have I listened to the latest Caro Caro Bonito single, Rock and Roll Star, that they released earlier today? Yeah, it's an Oasis cover, isn't it? I thought it was pretty good. The instrumental was a little stripped back, but I thought it was a fun track, fun cover. What are my thoughts on John Mayer, personally? Hey, fellow Connecticut native right there, from what I understand. I've never really been big on John Mayer. Again, probably my punk bias there coming out a little bit, but John Mayer, his music has just never really spoken to me personally. I don't know. It just hasn't. Thoughts on psychobilly alt country band, the legendary Shack Shakers? I hadn't even heard of the legendary Shack Shakers. I'm saving this right the fuck now, because somebody who has the balls to name themselves the legendary Shack Shakers deserves some attention. Will you be reviewing Steven Wilson's To the Bone? Kudos on the stream, by the way. Happy to help a bit. Thank you very much, Mark. I have been listening to it, but honestly, so far, I feel like everything that I've disliked about Steven's music in the past has just kind of been confirmed on this new record over here. Like, occasionally he does break it up a bit with a track that has maybe some sweeter pianos on it, or is a bit more straightforward and catchy. Like, I feel like he's not forcing, you know, the vintage prog thing on this new record as much as he has in the past, which I think is a good thing. You know, but in my opinion, his music is still super safe, still sounds like, you know, rock music that you could play in a doctor's office and nobody would get offended by it. It really just does nothing for me. You just had my question on screen and ignored it, Melon. Why did you do this? I apologize if I did that. I didn't intentionally do that. I didn't try to skip your question on purpose. Arbiter 5100. I apologize. I'm sorry. I hope me saying sorry is making up for this, because I don't know what else to say right now other than sorry. Why do I love Young Thug so much? What's wrong with me? I don't know. Maybe you just think his vocals are fun. Are you familiar with the work of Jason Webley, particularly his second and fourth albums? No, I am not. So I guess I need to educate myself. And thoughts on Gang of Youths? I do not really care for the new album. I think it's a little bloated, and I think it's, I don't know, it just doesn't really know what it wants to be. There's some good sort of rockin', passionate and like anthemic indie tunes on there that remind me of like some of the high points of the 2000s, but like some of the slow burners just do not do anything for me. Thoughts on the band Eels? You know, honestly, they've never really spoken to me, to be quite fair, to be honest. Like, their music is very dreary. Some people think their songwriting is just like genius, but it just doesn't translate for me. Like, maybe it's a mood thing. I really don't know. Thoughts on Eucalyptus by A.V. Terror? Will I be reviewing it? Honestly, I have not listened to it all the way through. I'm hearing some good things, but I have not listened to it enough to even comment on it, honestly. Actually, I probably should put it back on my freaking calendar, or make sure it's on my calendar. A.V. Terror. I got so many freaking things going on. Next week, LCD Sound System, Mogwai. I'm trying to review that Pyron. Still got the Action Bronson on my plate. Terra Mellos, Cormorant, Mesh, Holograms. I still want to listen to that Mark Kozlik and Sean Yeaton record. Deerhoof, Always, Alan Vega. There's so much on The National. Can you give your thoughts on the track Let Me Watch from Vaudeville Villain? And where would you rank Doom all time? Let Me Watch, I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty dark track. It's a decent track. It's not one of my favorites from the record, but, and rank Doom of all time. I think it, like, if we're talking about his best material, like, I think it would easily be top 10. He's one of the most unique voices at his best, you know, during his prolific period in the 2000s. Like, in that span of time, he came out with like an entire career's work of great music. And I think it would definitely be top 10. He's one of the most unique and idiosyncratic voices and artists in hip hop ever, you know? Anthony, been a big fan of yours for a long time. I'm glad to help with what I can. Are you familiar with Being as an Ocean, and do you plan on doing anything with their new material coming? Personally, I have not heard of them, but I will save this and sort of keep my ear out for a new album if you tell me that they have something coming out this year. Hey, Anthony, what do you think is better, LCD Sound System album Sounds of Silver or This Is Happening? Sound of Silver or This Is Happening? Personally, I'm more a fan of the latter. Also, why you ignore my $25 donation. I didn't purposefully do that. Believe me, there are lots of donations here that I'm not getting to all of them, but do keep in mind that we are raising this money for relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey. So I apologize if I don't get to every single question. Which one do I prefer better? I would say, as far as like, you know, classic status, as like, you know, making waves and like actually kind of like truly contributing to indie music as a whole, it has to be Sound of Silver. But personally, I like This Is Happening a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more epic of a record, and LCD Sound System really kind of, I think, goes above and beyond on that album, and, you know, put together a lot of smart songs. Favorite Lou Reed solo album? I don't know. I mean, probably, I'm a basic bitch. I'm just going to say Transformer, because I'm a basic ass bitch. Is Death Consciousness a classic for you, or do you think it's a bit overrated? Also, what do you think of their Voids EP? I don't think I've heard the Voids EP yet, so fuck me on that. But Death Consciousness, I don't really think it's overrated. I don't really think it's underrated. I think it's rated at just about where it should be. I mean, it's kind of like a cult classic, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like this super huge mainstream album. It's not like being written about in publications as like, you know, one of the greatest like shoegaze, dark wave, post-punk albums like ever to be recorded of all time. You know what I mean? It's not like in the Rolling Stone top 500 albums ever or some bullshit like that. You know, but it's still a very good album and a cult classic. And, you know, Dan put together a hell of a record on that one. Are you familiar with Helms Ali? Criminally Under the Radar. I feel like I've listened to their music before, but I can't even recall it personally. So I do apologize. Thoughts on Black Dahlia Murder? A little too overproduced for my taste, but, you know, they do have some good songs. And their new album possibly charting high for a death metal album. I don't even think I've heard the new record. Did it just come out this year? I'm fucking up on that. Thoughts on MF Grimm? I personally feel that he is incredibly underrated. Also, do you like the 4 new Doom songs? The 4 new Doom songs on the whole have just been okay. MF Grimm, I don't think he's underrated, honestly. Like, he's okay. You know, like, he's all right. Implying Music says, why did you ignore my $2 million donation? I apologize. I did not see the $2 million donation. The $20 million donation that you sent in, but all of that money will be going toward relief efforts for the victims and the rebuild for Hurricane Harvey. So you can, you know, appreciate that that's where your money is going. But yeah, personally, I'm not really crazy about MF Grimm. What do you expect on the new G-Eazy and new Lecrae album? I don't know. I expect both of them to just... I expect G-Eazy to be corny and, you know, continue to be the white Macklemore. And Lecrae will continue, like, trying to convince everybody of just how great Jesus is. And I don't know. I'm just never going to be on that train, guys. I apologize. But honestly, it's like I don't expect much. I expect them to both kind of continue preaching to their choir, I guess. I don't expect them to really kind of like come out with a classic or whatever. Have I ever listened to country blues folk singer Justin Townes Earl? If so, thoughts? I have not heard an album all the way through, so you can kill me if you see me. But you know, it's I know his name and I know he's been on my list to be like, hey, well, I need to like actually become familiar with this person, so kill me. Is the needle drop handled by one person, yourself, as a team and a company behind all my channels? I am signed to an MCN, but they don't really handle my channel. You know, they just kind of like do ad sales and stuff. I, you know, handle my channel. I have Austin, who does a lot of back-end stuff on the site, does a lot of prepping of videos on the channel. He writes blurbs for the site as well, and does other miscellaneous stuff that, you know, needs to get done in order for the needle drop to just function. And then there is Jeremy, who edits a bulk of the videos, you know, just kind of chop them up, and then I go over them afterwards to be like, okay, do I want to say this? Do I want to say this? Do I want to cut out this? And then I render it, and then it goes. And that's pretty much the team. That's the team right now. Me, Austin, Jeremy, that's the fucking team. Have I heard the new Lee Porcelain debut, Hymns of the Night? It's a very good electronic post-punk album that's very worth checking out. Okay, well, I will check that out. I have not heard it, honestly. So I'll see if it's very good, as you say. What would I recommend to start with for somebody interested in some metal? Early Black Sabbath, early Iron Maiden, early Judas Priest. That's what I would fucking recommend, you know? Yeah, early Black Sabbath, early Iron Maiden. That's kind of where you got to start. You know, the first couple of records from them, you know, I know this isn't their first, but, you know, check out Power Slave. And then from there, go to the thrash metal era. You know, listen to Anthrax, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, you know. Like, listen to the big stuff, the big popular stuff. Because in metal, when something gets really popular, it's usually because it's good. You know, it's usually because it's good. When someone's popular and classic, it's usually because it's good. Let's move on. What is it like meeting and being interviewed by Nardwuar? It was pretty intense because he talks really fast and he just kind of throws things at you. And, you know, he's just kind of going a million miles an hour. And, but it was still very fun though. Hey, Philanthropy Donato. Whoa. That's a smart one. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Thoughts on Grimes doing a Dark Souls-inspired album? Might be an interesting orchestral sound. That intro on her last album was very spicy. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Honestly, video games are so huge right now that, and people ask me all the time about, what do you think about video game soundtracks? Here are all my favorite video game soundtracks. I mean, when it comes to video game music, it's huge. So, I think the idea of doing a commercial popular music album based off of a video game, or publicly, sort of mentioning that it's inspired by a video game is actually a really smart move. And Dark Souls is a pretty popular franchise. So I don't know. I think it's smart. And Grimes totally strikes me as the type of person who would sink hours of time into open world RPGs where, you're playing some kind of sword fighting character, from the medieval era or some bullshit like that. So would you host a music crash course series if asked? Crash course on YouTube? I don't know. It would depend on how much I got paid and how much time it would take, and how much help would I have. But it sounds interesting. Hey, Branthony Nubian Tano. Yeah, that's good. What are your thoughts on Eden's Primitive Plus? Also, thoughts on Your Old Droog's PAX album? I'm pretty sure I reviewed PAX. Did I review PAX? I'm pretty sure I reviewed PAX. I thought it was good. Eden's Primitive Plus, I don't think I've heard enough of it to comment, honestly. But thank you very much, Cancer for Cure, good LP reference there. But I thought PAX was good. Unfortunately, I think kind of the downside of it was that Your Old Droog, he's kind of an old soul, and he's kind of just this dude who doesn't want to learn any new tricks. There were certainly a few tracks on there where he took some risks, but maybe not enough to kind of keep things exciting for me. Thoughts on Phony People's Yesterday Tomorrow? I think I've been meaning to listen to that, and I still have not. And I'm going to screenshot that again. Electric Shed. Hey, best teeth in the game. What do you think of Ian Dury and the Blockheads, Chet Baker, or if you've even played the games Hotline Miami 1 and 2 soundtracks? Thanks for introducing me to Death Grips. They are truly God tier. Chet Baker's great. Chet Baker's the man. I have a cool jazz recommendations playlist that I am going to mention him in. Ian Dury, though, and the Blockheads, I am not familiar with, and I'm going to screenshot that. I'm imagining it's along the same lines as Chet Baker, but I'm probably totally wrong. And I have not played Hotline Miami, so I do apologize for that. I listen to music all day like a nerd and play Super Smash Brothers. Have I listened to Carpenter Brute yet? No, I have not, because I suck. And heard Equalize's new song, Babylon, featuring Denzel Curry. Have I heard that? I know I've heard a new Lunas song with Denzel Curry that's fucking awesome, but I don't think I've heard that song, so I think I'm just going to save that and get back to it. Is it a new song? Because if it is, then maybe I'll check it out. It'll be in the best worst. Scott, thank you very much for donating. Remember, all of the money that is being given via Super Chats on here is going toward relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey via the Greater Houston Community Foundation, and I am matching all Super Chats up to $2,000. Why haven't I talked about Wiki and thoughts on William Onyeabor? Was I supposed to talk about William? R.I.P., he was a great musician. But Wiki, I'm not really that big on the new album. Honestly, I've been returning to it again and again, but I am not really feeling it. And it's just one of those records that thus far, for whatever reason, when I hear it, it doesn't actually hit me as to what it is I'm not really caring for about it, Sometimes albums like that, and that's why I review shit late sometimes, because I may be listening to it and I may have sort of an opinion and a feeling about it, but I don't know what it is about the album that's okay, this is why I don't like it, or this is why it's not speaking to me. The new Grizzly Bear was kind of that way. It took me a while to actually figure out why the record wasn't really hitting me. I can usually trust my gut reaction going into an album pretty well, but I need to listen to an album over and over and over to really figure out why it is I'm sort of having whatever feeling I'm having, a positive one, a negative one, a neutral one. Just remember, you got to match every penny of that $20 million I gave you, pleb. No, I don't. I said up until 2000. I did not say 20 million. Okay. Implying music. I said 2000. What do you think of the Young Marble Giants? I think Colossal Youth is massively underappreciated. I'm pretty sure I referenced them in an NPR mix that I did years ago for like female-fronted post-punk bands and stuff, and I think they're pretty cool. You know, they have a pretty interesting, like, minimal sound. Like, not many bands for their time were like as stripped back and sort of like skeletal as they were. There was something like very kind of stark about what they were doing. But yeah, I think they're cool. They're not quite as like aggressive as I like that brand of music to be, but you know, they were certainly cool. And thank you very much, Nicholas. Have I listened to Brother Ali's The Beauty in This Whole Life? Thoughts on Ali in general? I think Ali is a kind of unique voice, you know, like when he raps sometimes, he kind of has this weird, soulful, you know, sort of singing kind of quality to it that like reminds me of like, it's almost like he's giving a sermon or something. Personally though, like that sound and that style doesn't do too much for me. And with his new record, like I personally don't feel like it's one of his best. And I don't know, it just is another one of those albums that, like the Wiki album, like I've returned to it and I've listened to it and it's not really doing much for me. And I don't exactly know why. I can't quite put my finger on why. It may just be at the end of the day that it's not quite for me, which has kind of been the case with Ali's past work. So I'm just kind of chalking it up to that personally. But all the respect to the guy in the world. And I do think he is, you know, a unique voice in hip hop right now. And he's sort of delivering a message and a vibe that I think is, you know, important. What do I think about the state of blues music? I mean, I think blues music is pretty irrelevant right now. I mean, obviously it's not dead, just like everything else isn't dead in the internet age. But as far as like the music that people are actually like, you know, really like, I don't know, following and is dominating and is kind of like making artistic ripples. Obviously blues music still has quite a bit of influence, you know? I mean, it's like the basis of so much of today's popular music, you know, but as like an institution today, it's not like a very, you know, it's not very relevant, which is sad to say, but I mean, everything sort of has its shelf life. Everything sort of has its time in the sun, you know, which I don't mean to put that in such a final way, you know, because it's not like, you know, blues music comes and goes and that's it. You know, blues music, like many things that inspired it and came after, you know, still today stands as an influence. I'm trying to think of, you know, an example like for, you know, some of the new metal bands that came out, you know, in the 2000s, there are groups today who are like totally doing that new metal and rap metal thing. And it's like, holy fuck, you know, who's bringing this back? You know, rap metal and new metal may effectively be dead in a lot of ways, but not only are there new groups kind of playing with, but there are new groups that I hear every once in a while where it sounds like, wow, you're kind of like really taking an influence from this style of music that I thought was pretty much dead and like kind of reinvigorating it a little bit. Can I please review the new Pine Grove album in October? I mean, maybe. I'm not really into Pine Grove. People are also asking me to review like the new Turnover album, and I'm not really into that either. So I don't know. I can't make any promises right now. Again, their music really does nothing for me, and it'll depend on, you know, sort of what my schedule is looking like at the time. And in October, I do have a speaking engagement tour coming up, so there's going to be a pretty long span of time where I don't have much in the way of any video output because I'm going to be touring. Have I heard the new Daniel Caesar album? Some tracks, but it's not doing too much for me so far. I don't see the hype right now, but he seems like a capable singer. Thoughts on LP's early career, like Fun Crusher Plus, Cold Vein, Fantastic Damage. I mean, the production on Cold Vein rather, is untouchable. It's fucking untouchable. You know, as far as like Fun Crusher Plus is fantastic. Fantastic Damage is very, very good too. I feel like I'm going to need to go downstairs in a second and grab some water. I typically have some water up here with me. And yet I've been too stupid to do that, to go get some water because my voice is about to die because I haven't had a drink and I'm very parched. So I feel like I might need to jump downstairs really quick and get some water. But LP's early years are his best years. You know, there's really no debating that. What the heck? Have you ever heard of the singer Eden? He does have some electronic. I think someone was asking about Eden's music earlier, but I haven't heard enough to comment. What are your favorite tracks for lovemaking? Honestly, I've probably not made love to an album, like an entire album, for a long time. But for a while, like every music listener in the 2000s, it was some Beach House. Hey, Bro Beans. But honestly, like if I had to make love to an album recently, it would probably be the new fucking Pissed Jeans album. Don't ask why. What do I think of Paul Berber, the current folk punk scene? Also, are you going to review that new AJJ EP, Back in the Jazz Coffin? I have not heard that new EP. Is it good? I mean, is it as lackluster as the new album? I have not heard the new EP. No plans to review it right now, honestly, but I've not heard Paul's music either. And a lot of folk punk. I mean, it's pretty whiny. It's pretty angry. It's very tinny. It's very grating on the ears. It's very punky. It's very bossy. It's there. It's not very innovative, but it's there. Hey, Bonethany Lestano. That's a good one. What do you think of the influx of vaporwave and Japanese city pop going on right now? I think it's cool. Honestly, it's like, I think vaporwave, while I may not review too much of it, and a lot of it may just be like kind of just okay to my ears, I think any and all kind of internet music movements deserve loads of respect. What's your biggest improvement you've seen between an artist's debut and their sophomore album? Good question. Artist debut and their sophomore album. Honestly, I mean, if we had the most like from positive to negative sort of improvement, it would probably have to be like, I don't know, like Childish Gambino stands out to me as an example because I do like his new album quite a bit. It's not a perfect record, but I do think it's very good. And contrast that with Camp, I don't like Camp at all. I'm sorry. Thoughts on Crazy? Yes. Dumb? No. By the Mint Chicks? I have not heard that record. I suck. So I apologize, assuming you've heard it. Any favorite bands, albums that come out of New Zealand? I can't. I probably know some New Zealand bands too. And I don't even know they're from fucking New Zealand because I suck. But thank you very much for the New Zealand money, which probably translates to $2,000 American, and supporting relief efforts here that we're doing. So Diamond Eyes, nice Deftones reference there. Hey, Sexy Melantano, I just wanted to say you're awesome for doing this donation thing. Glad I can help. Also, Clarence Clarity's new single was awesome. Leave Earth when? I think Leave Earth very soon. Leave Earth very soon. I noticed you only disliked Love and God off Damn. They weren't. If they weren't there, what do you think the album would have been as far as a score? I mean, if we just took, those off the record, I mean, obviously the average of the tracks together would be higher. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like those tracks aren't necessarily like throwaway. I think there were things that on those tracks that could have been done to make them better. I like the ideas behind those tracks, but in the case of like God, for example, I just don't care for the singing at all. I think it's kind of silly in a way, to be quite honest. But again, I wouldn't throw them away. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't change anything about Damn. I think Kendrick is well within his right to come out with a very good album, not an amazing album, but a very good one. To me, and I was talking with somebody about this on Twitter earlier today, to me, Damn is very much like, while there are a lot of deep and thoughtful moments on Damn, overall, I think a lot of what Kendrick was doing on that record was just kind of like really stepping into the mainstream lane of, an artist like a Drake or a Kanye or whoever, just to be like, hey, I can do this shit too. I can come up with a bunch of bangers. I can come up with some chart toppers. And he did it. Because that album's done huge numbers for him. Huge. Trying to keep track over here. Loved your review of In the Court of the Crimson King. I'm curious to know your thoughts on Discipline, which I think is even more of an innovation than Court. I think it's a pretty good one. Doesn't stand out to me as like odd and as crazy as like Lark's Tongues. And also as far as like innovation, you also have to kind of like give a shout out to Red, because like the bass lines on that record are crazy, and I feel like we're a huge inspiration to like Les Claypool and Primus and all that shit. So, you gotta, to me, Discipline, maybe not the most memorable, and like innovative moment in their career, but definitely like, I don't know. I feel like In the Court of the Crimson King probably doesn't seem as innovative because its ideas were repeated again and again and again and again and again to the point where it's like the sound of that record and the influence of that album is so omnipresent that it just kind of seems like this isn't as, innovative as, we think it is. I think in the matter of discipline, is it a little more out there? Certainly. But I think it's a little bit more difficult of a record for other artists to copy. And that's why it seems like it's a little less, I guess, it's more innovative. It's more, I guess, groundbreaking in a way. Have I heard of the emo math rock band I Kill Giants? I have not. Thoughts on Fiona Apple? Fiona Apple is amazing. Also, any reason why you haven't reviewed Ryan Adams before? Thanks for doing this. Personally, Ryan Adams' music doesn't do too much for me. He came out with some good records in the 2000s, and he writes some pretty decent songs, but like his voice doesn't really do too much for me. And I don't know, he's just not really one of my favorites personally. Do I see a correlation between an increase in drug references in rap within the past 15 years and the rising drug use within America as hip-hop has become the dominant culture in the mainstream? Honestly, if you look at drug use statistics among millennials are not doing as much drugs as teenagers and 20-somethings in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s. Go back and look at the statistics because honestly, they're there and they're quite shocking to think that today people are doing less recreational drugs than they did decades ago. I don't know if there's any reason to doubt the statistics that I've seen. I mean, I've actually seen statistics that say alcohol use is on the drop off. Like people are drinking less than they used to. And honestly, that could partially be, and I've also read stats saying that millennials are not having as much sex either. And I don't know if that's because people have other ways to stimulate themselves now with video games and the internet and social media. Like maybe that could be it. I really don't know. I really don't understand. But from everything that I've read, it says quite the opposite. That's not to say that maybe drug use is on the rise in the hip hop community. I don't know. I haven't seen a statistic talking about that. Maybe you're seeing a positive correlation between drug use within the hip hop community and drug references in rap songs. I really don't know. I really don't sort of understand. But, personally, I'm not seeing that correlation. But maybe, like you say, now that hip-hop is in the mainstream, maybe we'll see an increase. I don't know. Thoughts? This goes out to my ex, Jack, in Houston. I'm so sorry. And, I'm sorry also to your ex. And thank you very much for donating. To remind you guys, all of the Super Chat money is going toward relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey. Through a fund that was set up by the mayor of Houston. It's going right to the Greater Houston Community Fund. And I'm going to be on here for probably another 29 minutes. So, and I'm also going to be matching all Super Chat donations up to $2,000. And in a few days, I will post to Twitter, and I will probably mention in the next live stream that we do, maybe next week, most likely the week after, that I will be giving you guys the figures of how much has been donated. But that'll probably be later. To see them, ASAP, it's probably going to be on my Twitter in a few days, as soon as the money rolls over and I can see how much we made, because YouTube takes a few days to tell you, with analytics. Cheers. I don't live in the U.S., but here, this is for charity. Is there any chance for more underground electronic albums? Humble suggestions. Oh, I'm going to capture these fucking suggestions. Thank you. I do like suggestions. There's always a chance, and I will check out the suggestions. Thank you very much, Jose. Jack, also, I have to ask for the chat angelic to the core or Speeding Bullet to Heaven. I don't know what you're asking. Which is the best album? Which is the better album? Which is the more creative album? Which album is going to change music over the next 10 years? I would have to say it's probably angelic to the core. It's probably angelic. Because Kid Cudi, Speeding Bullet to Heaven is special, but it's mostly just kind of an exercise in grunge. On Angelic to the Core, Corey Feldman literally inventing genres. Literally inventing genres. Film soundtracks of recent years that you would recommend. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't pay that much attention to film soundtracks. I really don't. I honestly don't. It's not a film. I'm gonna say the Minecraft soundtrack. I suck. Thoughts on Capital Steez and his record, All American Corruption. I love your head shape. Thank you very much, Aiden. All American Corruption is pretty good. I wish that Capital Steez was still around because I feel like his sort of aggressive, very gritty style would have really balanced out Pro Era, would have really kind of kept the group together, would have really like kind of continued to be a force for the group. Just a really sad loss, honestly. Like that record, there's just so much potential there, you know, for him to have grown beyond that and like given us so much more. Okay, third time's a charm. Is Playboi Carti capable of entertaining you since you seem to enjoy Telephone Calls and the Mattress remix? Honestly, I think Magnolia is a kind of fun song sometimes, you know, but like, is an entire record of Playboi Carti just like ad-libbing over a bunch of fucking beats entertaining? No, not really. You know, like, listen, here's the thing. It's not that a lot of these artists, you know, even Lil Uzi Vert, it's not like Lil Uzi Vert is never entertaining. It's not like I don't enjoy tracks off of his new album. I like, Exo Tour Life. I like 444 plus 222, you know, but the thing is like, they don't have the long game to do an entire album and have it be well-crafted, diverse, well put together, you know, like just throwing a bunch of songs together where you just kind of repeat yourself a million fucking times and just like, okay, here's basically the archetype and the concept for one song. I'm going to copy that 10 to 15 times and just throw it out there. You know, that's kind of good if you just want to blast a bunch of tracks out and just kind of let the audience decide what's hot and what's not. But like, is it good as a full listening experience? A lot of the time, no. You know, so I mean, Playboi Carti songs here and there, they're pretty good, you know, especially in the fucking club. But outside of that context, it's like, it's kind of lacking. I know it might be cringe, but have you heard Frank Lero's new album, Parachutes? It's a really good punk rock alternative style album that has become one of my favorite albums of the last couple of years. No, I have not. So, thank you for the recommendation. No recommendations are cringe, and I don't know why you would say it's cringe. Maybe it's not cringe at all. Maybe it's just good. Maybe everybody here should go check that album out and see if it's cringe or not, you know, and just really kind of explore and find out. Hey, Anime Thiny Fantano, when will you drop the top 10 Vocaloid songs, considering the recent 10th anniversary of Hatsune Miku, which was on 31/8? Has it been 10 years since Vocaloid, or like since that song dropped? That's kind of crazy. It feels like it's more of a recent thing, but maybe it's just more recently popular. No plans on doing the top 10 Vocaloid songs now. But I don't know, if somebody wants to sort of contribute to the needle drop and do it, I'd be happy to sort of look over that kind of video and you know, put that content out there. Are you into no wave music? Lydia Lunch, Contortions? Hell yes. The Contortions are fucking awesome. And James Chance on the new Karen J. Callanan album was fantastic. Einsterzende Neubauten is amazing. Although I have not heard a Die Toldice Doris. I'm not even going to act like I'm pronouncing this correctly. I suck. I'm sorry. But I actually, you know, caught Neubauten over at that festival in Barcelona, Primavera Sound, and they were amazing. They did some really crazy shit, and they had like, you know, full stage setup with like, you know, all the metal like blades and all the crazy like, you know, bullshit noisemakers that they have. It was amazing. It was crazy. And it was like super heavy and it was super dark. And it was like one of the most fucked up live, you know, sort of performances I've seen. Any chance of a Big Black Shellac review for Classics Week? Probably a Big Black review one day. And also, I don't think Frank Lero is cringe. It is nice to see him breaking away from My Chemical Romance and do something noisier and grittier. I'm just going to save that and just sort of see what's up with this album. Is it cringe? Is it not? We'll see. Okay, mess up the other two donation chats. Thoughts on Julian Baker? And if so, any chances of reviewing her next album? I've been getting so many requests for it. I think I just need to like buckle down and just put it on my freaking... It's on my calendar to try it out and listen to it. But God, there's so much on my calendar. We'll see. It's on my calendar to listen to. I've been getting so many recommendations. Favorite movie? I don't know. Some of my favorites are like Pulp Fiction, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like fucking... I don't know. I think 28 Days Later is really good. Big Lebowski. Ghostbusters, the first one, not the new one. No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood. Those films are amazing. Yeah. I have normie film tastes. I'm sorry. Favorite best Beirut song, the one with the ukulele right at the start, off the one before the Flying Club Cup that got like all that blog buzz. But some of the Flying Club Cup songs are amazing. What are your feelings on the Deer Hunter? I cannot get into the Deer Hunter. It's just like such a weird crossroads between like indie and prog, and it just like turns me off. And I don't know. Some of you might not feel like there's any comparison, but I'd much rather listen to like kind of a more aggressive and even more progressive band that has a bit more grit to them, like the Mars Volta or something like that. Considering that pop artists are often highly tuned and sometimes digitized, do you think we will ever reach a point where Vocaloids take over, at least in the pop genre, and real human voices fall out of fashion? I think the thing about pop iconography is that it kind of has to be a person. Not always, like obviously, even before the whole Vocaloid thing, you have a band like Gorillaz, who, I mean, they're a cartoon band, like it's not like this has been the first time where you've had a band who someone is playing a character, you have an animated person or sort of a fake person fronting the band, or, there's some kind of facade being presented there. And I think Vocaloid is kind of, in that tradition in a sense. So I think that, you have to kind of have a Taylor Swift at the center of it. You know what I mean? Somebody for people to obsess over and ogle and blah, 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 blah. I feel like it's kind of a part of the recipe. I feel like you could only throw so many like hologram, anime girls in front of people and have them be wowed, like, I feel like there has to be like a real person there for people to desire or, idolize, you know what I mean? Because I think idolization is kind of a, part of the pop mix, the recipe. Have you heard of the band Dots Tokyo? They dropped a new album recently. That's an interesting mix of J-pop, shoegaze, and harsh noise. That sounds fucking amazing. I'm just going to screen grab that because I have not heard it. So thank you very much for that crazy recommendation. Can I listen to the Halloween 3 soundtrack for $10? Not for $10, but is it good? Is it as good as the Halloween 1 soundtrack? I don't even know anything about the Halloween 3 soundtrack. Hey, Runthony Scapetano, do you think... What do you think? What do you think are you trying to ask? What do you think? Do you think is the most underground band / album of the classic prog era? I personally think Be the Magpie by Pekka Pohjola. Also, any plans on more roasting vids on the meme channel? There probably will be more roasting videos, and that is probably the most underground and appreciated album of the prog era because I've not even fucking heard it. But honestly, it's like, I know that they do have, a decent and a cult following behind them. But if I would say that there's like an underappreciated band during the prog era, I would probably say it's Magma. They're pretty goddamn creative. To not only with their sound, but just the fact that they sort of like came up with a fucking language for their shit. What new sounds would you want to hear on the next K-Dot album? Personally, I want some really weird, groundbreaking stuff. Thank you for doing this too. Again, I want to remind you guys that all donations, all super chats are going toward Hurricane Harvey relief efforts, and I am matching all super chats up to $2,000. So when you do make donations, make them big. They're all going toward a good cause, and we have like 15 to 20 minutes left here. Now, what am I looking for? I don't know. I would like for him to go in weird territory again. Personally, I would. And not necessarily just like, like, ooh, I'm just being weird to be weird, but I think, he stepped a little bit too into the mainstream on this one, at points, but also it's like, I don't know. I feel like the vocal he delivered on God was sort of beneath him. I've heard him sing better on other tracks. And I feel like that record could have that song could have been developed a little bit. I also feel like that album in general was a little rushed. I guess I would like to hear him take his time with this one, but I feel like that was also kind of the point with Damn, for him to come out with a fast album that he's kind of reacting to all this bullshit going on now, because he is considered this conscious artist who comments on, serious shit. And right now there is a lot of serious shit going on. And, even if he's not directly talking about it in the most specific of terms, on every track of that album, there's kind of a general mood to that record that feels like it's in response to what's going on. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would like to hear him venture into the unknown a little bit more, come up with a bit clearer and a cleaner concept and a theme, and, just take his time. Just take his time to really come out with the best record that he can, get another classic under his belt. Thoughts on the Gaslight Anthem, the Menzingers, and that whole punk rock scene? The Menzingers, I think, are pretty good. They have some very good records. The Gaslight Anthem, I think, are just like a little bit too ritzy, in my opinion. Not quite as gritty as I like my punk and my alternative rock to be. But certainly a respectable band. They're no slouch. But the Menzingers, definitely punchier, more my style, although I thought their last record was just kind of okay. Hey, Anthony, love your stuff. What are your thoughts on Japanese post-rock, shoegaze, like Kinko Teikoku, Sobi Seksu? Would you consider Asobi Seksu like I guess you said shoegaze. I thought I just read the post-rock. Or, weirder groups like World's End Girlfriend. Mono's great. Asobi Seksu is great. Kinoko, I have not heard, unfortunately. So, I cannot speak on all of these groups, but, Asobi does have like a really beautiful sound on some of their best records. And, going on earlier in, Mono's discography, like, early to mid 2000s, they did come out with a lot of good stuff. And oddly enough, when I hear post-rock conversations today, I don't hear a lot of people bringing them up, weirdly enough. And World's End Girlfriend does have at least one amazing album under their belt. I will say that. Their recent stuff hasn't done too much for me, but World's End Girlfriend, they are a good band. I've been struggling to expand my taste beyond hip hop. Just off the top of your head, could you recommend a great non-hip hop album for me? Please. I don't know, like Neutral Milk Hotel and the Aeroplane Over the Sea, Fugazi, Red Medicine, The Microphones, The Glow Part 2, The Strokes, Is This It? Talking Heads, Fear of Music, Three Imaginary Boys, The Cure, Queen is Dead, The Smiths, Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division. Listen to I Talk with the Spirits, Roland Kirk, Hot Rats, Frank Zappa. Those are some good recommendations. Any albums that remind you of Nine Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral, that you can recommend? Oddly, I think of Brand New's record. I need The God and Devil, or The Devil and God. I need some influence. Honestly, like, there aren't a lot of records that remind me of that album. I've probably said it here and there in a review, but it's just not really coming to me right now. Like, industrial rock is not really on the rise at the moment. And the influences I catch of Trent Reznor's music today, I feel like are kind of, I don't know, like a little, I guess, they're more low key, I guess I would say. And just to sort of, look over here in my, videos, I'm trying to think of like if I reviewed like an industrial rock album recently, I'm trying to think of like an example, a recent example. Oh, yeah, I guess the Alice Glass album did have kind of some touches of industrial on it. The new Algiers album, too. And the new Blank Mass album as well. And, and Street Sects. The band Street Sects, I would say, is a pretty huge industrial element, sort of to their songwriting. I would definitely check them out. Ever listened to the cool, dark LA post-punk band Sextile? I have not, so I'm going to save that. And what do I think of their new? I haven't heard it, so I apologize. Big fan here from Denver, and maybe a speaking engagement there in Denver in the near future. If this speaking engagement tour that I have coming up goes well, I will consider doing another one next year. Although, still in the future, I do have to kind of keep the dates and the tour is short and kind of limited because, I do have to be over here to make videos, unfortunately. Favorite Brockhampton music video and favorite member? I don't know. Star, I think, is pretty great. And I don't know. It's really kind of a heat between Kevin and Amir right now. What up, Melon? Thoughts on Aphex Twin? He's a pretty groundbreaking artist. Some of his like early stuff is a little bit more minimal for me. I like a lot of his drum and bass and drill and bass shit. But he's great. Definitely innovative, definitely to be respected. Go check out my album Clementine. It's on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, etc. Trying to make something of myself in the music business. Stephen Douglas, there you go. I hope your name is Stephen Douglas, or else nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know what the hell your artist name is. But I guess everybody already knows the album is Clementine. You can look up Stephen Douglas's music over there. Thank you very much for the shout out and the donation to relief efforts for Hurricane Harvey. Thoughts on Amir Van stealing the best teeth from you? Oh damn. If me and MC Ride are not going to go toe-to-toe in the octagon to beat the living daylights out of each other, I have my teeth going toe-to-toe with Amir's teeth in the octagon. And, we'll do some training. We'll both get some teeth whitening, both do a lot of extra flossing and, all that. I'll get some dental work done. And, we'll show up and we'll really see what's up. You could tell him that. Hey, Ant, if you were to listen to Dad Rock, what bands would you listen to? Also, can you give a shout out to Jimmy Brode? Shout out to Jimmy. And I don't know. I mean, I do kind of listen to some Dad Rock. I like some AC/DC or some Creedence Clearwater Revival or some Radiohead, the greatest dad rock band of all time. Oh, man, there's like 10 or 15 more minutes left of this, and I'm so glad because my voice is dying and I haven't had a drink. Thoughts on songs Ohia, specifically the album The Magnolia Electric Company. Has it earned the title of classic? I think it's a pretty decent album. I don't know if I would call it a classic, though. I don't know if it's widely influential enough to call it a classic. I used to date somebody who was huge into songs, and I don't know. I could never really get into them, honestly. Ever heard of Danish experimental jazz krautrock band? No, I have not. Oh, shit. Here we go. No, but I'm going to save that. And you said you heard them live earlier this year and you were blown away. Well, let's see. I'm going to check it out. Thoughts on Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros? Honestly, it's I don't know. Like Edward Sharpe was around during a time when every indie band thought they needed to have 1 million members to be good, when in fact, like most indie bands that had 1 million members were awful. And I would cite Edward Sharpe as one of those examples. They had a few decent songs that, kind of sounded like folkier takes on good Arcade Fire tracks, or good, like, I would say good, like, Arcade Fire tracks, but there wasn't much to what they were doing. Poo poo pee pee poo pee pee. That's a good one, Christian. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing Melon. Any podcast recommendations? Song Exploder. It's an amazing fucking podcast where in every episode they sort of go into the detail of how a particular song was written with a songwriter. There's an amazing episode with Perfume Genius, Mike Hadrius, Weezer's Rivers Cuomo. I think there's one with Robin from Fleet Foxes as well, and many more episodes as well. Song Exploder. Good podcast. Hey, Treethany Bartano, have you heard of the short-lived show Freaks and Geeks? If so, what is your opinion? I have heard of it, and I used to see it on TV back when it was, actually on TV. And I don't know, it never really did much for me, honestly. I was much more of like a Strangers with Candy guy. What are your thoughts on, like for kind of like weird, like vintage sort of, I guess, would I even call Strangers with Candy's vintage? I guess, the character is vintage. And there's sort of like kind of like a 70s sort of aesthetic and vibe to, some of what's going on there. But I don't know. I was much more into shows like that at the time. What are some of the vinyls that you have framed around your house? Just kind of these 9 over here. Wire, Neutral Milk Hotel, Women, Public Strain, The Slits, Cut. Unicorns, Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone, Minor Threat, J Retard, Matador Singles 2008, Dead Kennedys, freaking plastic surgery disasters. What are your thoughts on Planetary Duality by the Faceless? Otherwise, favorite Swedish metal band? Favorite Swedish metal band? What the fuck? And am I thinking of... I mean, I'm pretty sure Ghost is from Sweden, and they're good. You know, but what band am I thinking of? I wanna get this name right. I want to say... Yes, I want to say Entombed. Entombed is probably one of the best ones. I just wanted to verify that they were Sweden. I was 80% sure that they were from Sweden, but I just wanted to make sure. And Planetary Duality by the Faceless, I cannot get into the Faceless. It's the production is just too clean for me, honestly. Got to be nastier. Thoughts on Little B donating songs to Hurricane Harvey victims in need? Also, do you enjoy Frank Zappa? Hell yes, I enjoy Frank Zappa. And I don't know, I mean, I think it's a creative way of donating, I guess. I guess we'll see if there are any underground Houston artists who end up doing a song with Little B, I guess. You a real patrician, Anthony. Check out the vegan documentary, What the Health, on Netflix. I've seen people talking about it. I was watching one of my favorite vegan YouTubers sort of debunk some parts of it. But I have been meaning to watch it. Also, implying music is good. It's true. Music is not really that good. Have I listened to the Drab Majesty album that came out earlier this year? 80s goth new wave throwback. And also, speaking of industrial not being on the rise, you should listen to the latest Youth Code. Was that the record they came out with last year, or did they drop it this year? Because I have heard the latest thing that they did. I thought it was very rough and, really abrasive and energetic, but kind of one-dimensional. You know, I was hoping for a little bit more variety across the record. It is a very brutal album, though, I will say that. And I will check out that record you recommended. Thank you. Hey, Fandango, longtime fan here. 2 questions. What are some artists you'd recommend similar to Burial, and when is Cal getting more screen time? Cal got some decent screen time in the new King Gizzard review, although it did piss some people off. And I'll probably do another review like that with sort of like a Cal skit in the future. And artists I recommend similar to Burial, I don't know. I think you have to kind of go into the whole Future Garage thing, because I think, and the whole like 2-step thing, and like on Rate Your Music, and sort of go from there. Because honestly, it's like, I don't think there are a lot of artists that come to mind that I'm just like, oh, that just reminds me of Burial, because I think as far as like that style goes, he's pretty unique, honestly. Could you say this for a meme sample? I hate Marcel. I immediately lose respect for anyone that listens to them, especially those who praise them. Here's why. Shout out to my homie Anthony Fantano over on the Fantano channel. There we go. I said it. Who's your favorite vegan YouTuber? Who's my favorite vegan YouTuber? I guess Unnatural Vegan. I probably watch her vegan videos the most consistently now. Thank you very much, Tom. Hey, Anthony, you heard the new Komara self-titled album. It's a blend of prog rock, avant-garde jazz, industrial. I have not, but I'm going to take that recommendation and put it in my goddamn pocket. Thank you very much. Let me just make sure I'm not being an idiot here. Okay, yes, I'm not being an idiot. Thank you. First, I'm from Texas and wanted to say thank you. Also, what would you say to an artist struggling to sound original? To hit upon original sound, it's kind of like a process. You have to write tons of songs before, not only are you writing good songs, but you really kind of come into your own and develop your musical style, and once you kind of have those foundational elements there, from there, you could be like, okay, listen back to your music objectively and be like, okay, what does this sound like? How can I alter it a little bit? Because obviously I hear my influences, but like, how can I alter it to sound different or sort of be a little bit more unique? It's a developmental process. What dating advice would you give someone who is dating a feminist, yet you are critical of feminism, but not entirely against the ideology? I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like agreeing with somebody ideologically is 100% a requirement of, dating somebody and being in love with somebody, I guess it's a matter of, assess and think about what it is about your relationship outside of this disagreement that you have that makes it work and that makes it so good. And I guess as long as you guys don't let this difference of opinion come between you and make both of you love each other less, then it's not that big of a factor, I mean, honestly, it could be a plus at the end of the day because it could lead to some interesting and fulfilling conversations, and sort of discussions on the issue. Thoughts on Steve Kilby and the church band, also possible speaking engagement in Denver in the near future. No plans on going into Denver this year, unfortunately. I do have to kind of keep this tour short and sweet because I do have to get back here and, get back to working on videos. But I have not heard that band, and I will sort of take that recommendation, put it in my pocket. Thoughts on Fish and or jam bands? They do nothing for me. Anthony, what do I think is the best and worst Beatles album? I don't know. I mean, I'd probably pick one of their earliers for like the worst, just because I feel like it's not as interesting as kind of their more psychedelic stuff. I mean, personally, I love the White Album, but probably say something more like Abbey Road or Revolver because it's a little more consistent together. That's one of my least favorite Linkin Park albums, honestly, Tom. Hey, Anthony, what do I think is the best and worst Beatles? Oh, I answered that one. Thank you for answering my question. Do I think music production in the future will ever be made by AI, or at least ubiquitously AI assisted? Also, Soft Machine, the third retro review. That is an amazing album, and doing a review of that would be tempting. I think we could see that if like recording and putting songs together on like mobile devices becomes more popular, and then somebody develops some sort of like, ridiculous app that like mixes the song for you to sort of like maybe get it to a point of listenability, and then you have to tweak it afterwards to like, kind of really get it to how you want to sound. But, and there's probably like presets in there. They're like, okay, here's the guitar, like mix it how you would mix a guitar. Like there's only a matter of time before technology makes it, easier for people to just be like, bloop, 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 and just like do tons of shit on their own. Let's see. I'm going to have to make this the last few questions. It has been 90 minutes. What do you think of Bicep and or Home Shake? Neither of them are all that amazing in my opinion, but I do sort of see the hype. It's not for me, but and I think I did like a reaction to, like a quick Twitter reaction, like in a Why You Know review to the new Home Shake, I think. And have I listened to Major Laser's debut album? It's actually a pretty faithful mix of dancehall reggae. Actually, their first album is very good. I think it's just kind of been recently that they've fallen off, really. I've not listened to Felly's latest album. And thank you very much, Fat Greg, the bread man. I'm going to have that be the last one. Thank you very much, guys, for all of your support and donations. It kind of seems like we got, like a good amount of money raised here. Again, remember that everything that we raised during this live stream is going toward relief efforts, which I'm going to put that window back up over here. Oh, wait, that switched. Oh, what the heck? Over here. It's because I went to go look at my videos. Here we go. Yes, all the money that we just raised is going toward the Greater Houston Community Foundation. And once I find out through YouTube analytics in 2 days how much money we raised in this live stream, I'm going to match all of that money up to $2,000. So if we raise $2,000 here, then I'm giving $2,000. If we raise $1,500, then I'm giving $1,500. We'll see. I think we raised a good amount of money, though. I don't know if anybody was counting, but it seems like we had a pretty fruitful live stream. And as of right now, I think we should plan for another live stream next week, a full-length one, 2-hour one. And thank you very much, guys, for taking part, and thank you very much for supporting this good cause on basically a short notice. Thank you very much for throwing your questions at me and being understanding of when I have not heard things, because I have not, heard everything. I am just one man, and, I do hear a lot, but I don't hear everything. Looking at the chat right now for the lulls, because we could end this off with a laugh. G-Easy, hurricanes are poop. Hurricanes are poop, that is true, but, do keep in mind that global warming is partially or probably mostly to blame here, and it sucks. Say something ridiculous. One man, one melon. Fuck me. Yo, fuck hurricanes. That's true. Dude, you missed a $50 question. I apologize if I missed a $50 question. Is the $50 one, is it still up? Is it? Oh, there it is. God damn it. Stop. What the fuck? I keep trying to click on it. There it is. Hey, have I listened to Nmesh's Acid Baby, and what do I think about it? I know your name's not Nmesh, it's Mesh. Is Acid Baby the new one? I just shared it the other day. I know you're on my calendar over here because of your new album, and from what I heard of it so far, it was very fun, okay? And I'm just looking forward to it. Everybody go listen to the new Mesh album. It's on Bandcamp, okay? And listen to Acid Baby. And, shout out, dude. Hey, listen, I still got this shit over here, man. I still got this shit. I still got that Warp Zone. Still got that Warp Zone cassette. Still got that Trio Warp Zone cassette, dude. So thank you very much. And yes, I am going to be giving some ear time to your latest release. All right. Again, thank you everybody for donating to a good cause, supporting a good cause. My wiener is stuck to my hand. Oh no, you should call a doctor. When Anthony is gay, LOL, I don't know what that is. Thoughts? Oh wait, it's going so fast. Trump rules. Trump doesn't rule. Yes. Thank you very much, Mesh. White Macklemore. Music is weird. That's true. LCD Sound System. H3H3 podcast. When? Probably never. A vegan feminist is better than XXX Tentacion. That is true. Woo. Poo Poo. Melon Block. Stars the Lid. Stars the Lid are good. LCD is out. It's out. It's out. Jimi Hendrix album, Experienced. Pink Floyd are trash. That's demonstrably not true. You watch Secular Talk? Hell yeah, Secular Talk rules. Shout out to Kyle. Kyle Kalinski's fucking the man. Love you. You got me into Brockhampton. Brockhampton is good. Canada has the best something scene, probably. Fight Sam Hyde in the Octagon. Me, Amir, MC Ride, Sam Hyde, all fighting each other in a 4-on-4 battle, just no holds barred. Anal, not me. ASMR. Hi everyone, it's Anthony Fantano here. I am ASMRing for you guys right now. Does this sound ASMR to you guys? Does this sound really relaxing? I'm just trying to be as relaxing as possible to you guys. Are you relaxed? I hope I'm relaxing you right now. I'm trying to do my best to relax you. I'm not going to show you guys my penis, okay? I'm not going to do that. Ha ha ha. ASMR, eargasm. Everybody's talking about the eargasm that they're having. Good. And I'm not going to eat ass on camera either. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Again, check my Twitter, twitter.com/theneedledrop or @theneedledrop. In 2 days, as soon as YouTube rolls over and lets me know how much money we made here, I will match that up to 2,000. I will send that donation out. I'll do a screen grab, put it up on Twitter, and that'll be where we announce it. So, and that'll probably be on our Facebook as well. Austin will put that up on the Facebook if you're following just the Facebook page. I'll probably put up on Instagram too, Instagram @Fantano. So it'll be around, and we'll talk about it in the next live stream next week. And thank you very much, guys. This has been great. This has been a good cause. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for supporting. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And tomorrow, reviews of War on Drugs and OCs going up. Hopefully getting out a quickie review of the new Liars this weekend. I want to listen to the new Cormorant, Terra Mellos. Great Albums video coming out next week, at the start of next week. Listening to LCD Sound System, Julian Baker, White Suns, Mogwai. Still got to listen to that Uncommon NASA, the new Mesh, Pyron, Action Bronson, Holograms. The week after that, Always, Deerhoof, A.B. Tear. Still got to listen to that. Mark Kaz, Alan Vega solo album, very good. No Such Thing, Zola Jesus. Ted Leo's coming out with a new one. Check out that. The National dropping a new record. So there's a lot of things on my plate, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna have it all make sense, and hopefully I cover most of it. Look, the camera. The camera's all the way over here. It's all the way over here. It's so far. It's so far from me. It's like a whole. This is the closest I'm getting. Not getting any closer than this. All right, I love you guys. You're the best. All right, see ya. Bye. Oh, kill yourself. No, kill you. No, what? You know what? Don't kill yourself. Love yourself. That's what I'm going to say. Love yourself. You tell me to kill myself? I tell you to love yourself. Love yourself. Forever.